Hello, today I'm reading a Peter Parker X Black Cat Listener, and it is called Always Have and Never Hold. It's about you, basically, you forgot who Peter was after the spell, but you didn't forget Spider-Man. So let's just get into the video. Well, hello there. Peter screamed and whipped around. He'd been standing on a rooftop in his newly made suit when he heard your voice. You were behind him, dressed in your black cat suit and fixing the white fur on your collar. Relax, baby boy. It's just me. You know me? Peter asked incredulously as he took a step towards you. He had seen you a few times since the spell, and you never made any indication that you knew him. He had accepted that he was wiped from your memory, but now he wasn't sure. Yeah, Spidey, I know you. You say like it was obvious. Did you hit your head or something, baby? Peter relaxed a little under his mask as he racked his brain for an explanation. He couldn't understand why you suddenly knew who he was. No, I'm fine, he said softly. I just wasn't expecting you. Who were you expecting? You tilted your head. We always patrol together. Right, of course, I knew that. He lied. You gave Peter a strange look but ultimately shook it off. You waltzed over to him and wrapped your arms around his neck, letting out a sigh. I think the high altitude is starting to get to you, Spidey. You cooed. You sure you're okay? We can play doctor if we need to. I make a really sexy nurse. I'm okay. He gulped. More than okay. I'm great. Okay, Tiger, whatever you say. You patted his face and walked away from him. Where are you going? He asked you. Back to the tower. I've been out all night, you said as you pretended to yawn. Can I come? You live there, don't you? Right, I knew that. I live there, he said. His mind was swimming with confusion as he tried to figure out how you knew who he was. Are you sure you're okay, Spidey? Spidey? That was it. That was why you remembered. Peter Parker had been wiped from everyone's memory, but not Spider-Man. You had no idea Peter was underneath the mask. You just thought you were talking to your friend Spider-Man. I'm sure. Let's go home. I'm tired. I miss home, he said as he followed you to the edge of the building. You gave him a flirty smile and picked up his hand. Aren't you gonna swing me home, lover boy? You asked as you batted your eyelashes. Peter gulped and wrapped an arm around your waist. He knew all your flirty remarks were part of your black cat character, but it had the same effect that it's always had on him. He shot a web about and swung you home, holding you as close as he possibly could. Sorry it's a mess. I haven't been around much, Peter said once you landed in his bedroom in the Avengers Tower. He hadn't been back since the spell was cast, knowing the facial recognition would no longer work on him. His room hadn't been touched in months, and it showed. You kicked a shirt on the ground with your shiny high-heeled boot and made a face. It's okay. You smiled weakly. What have you been doing? Just going out on patrol. I've been in a bad fog lately. I can't seem to focus on anything. I just feel so listless, you know? I know the feeling, you said as you wiped your hands together, despite the fact that you were wearing gloves. You do? Peter asked hopefully. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with me. You sigh. I'm just in a funk. I can't seem to shake the feeling that I'm forgetting something. You know, when you leave home and you can't remember if you turned off the oven? Yeah, I do. That's how I've felt for the past few weeks. Like, somewhere out there, my oven's still on. I don't know. It's been weird. You shrug and continue walking around his room. Peter's eyes soften as he stares at you through his mask. He knew he was the thing you were forgetting, but he had no way of telling you that. I feel the exact same way, he said after a minute. I wonder why we feel like that. I don't know, Peter lied, growing emotional under his mask. He wanted to break down and tell you everything, but he knew it wasn't the time. I was gonna chill for the night and watch a movie. Do you want to join me? You asked him, dropping the flirty act now that you were home. Yeah, said immediately. I mean, yes, sure. I would love to. Cool, I'll meet you in the living room. I'm gonna go put something more comfortable on. You wink and smack yourself on the hip before leaving his room. Peter sat on his bed and let out a deep sigh before pulling himself together. This was the first time he'd been able to speak to you since the spell, and he didn't want to blow it. He changed out of his suit and threw some pajamas on before going out to the living room. When Peter walked into the living room, he found you out of your white wig and makeup free. You looked up and he noticed the way your eyes softened at the sight of him. A small smile was on your face when you walked over to meet him. What? He wondered. I've never seen you without your mask. Your smile grew. You dropped the flirty tone that the black cat used and just sounded like yourself now. Peter hadn't spoken to you in so long that it filled him with emotion. Then how did you know it was me? He quipped. I could be a stranger who just broke in to kill you. I know your posture, dummy. And who would break in wearing a Hello Kitty pajama? You teased as you took a step closer to him. A robber who doesn't care about the opinions of others. Peter shrugged, earning a laugh from you. I'm sure. You're cuter than I expected, I have to admit. You smiled coyly as you unapologetically checked him out. You were flirting, but not like you did as Black Cat. This was all you, and Peter deeply missed it. Did you think I'd be ugly? He flirted back. No, I didn't think you looked like that, though. I also thought you were blonde. He replied as you ran your fingers through his hair. Blonde? He chuckled. Why? Because your personality is a perfect blend of Zach and Cody, so I had imagined you'd look like them. Fair enough. I can't believe you're walking around without your mask on. Your face is fully exposed, you slut. You snorted as you walked over to the couch. Peter sat beside you, noticing the way your knees were touching. If we're gonna hang out, it'd be silly for me to be masked up all the entire time, he reasoned. No, I know. I'm not knocking it. I'm really glad it's off, you told him as you turned your face to him. You are? I mean, it would be pretty creepy if you sat here fully masked the whole time. Right. He nodded, hope fading slightly. He couldn't tell if you were flirting or just being nice. No, you're not ugly, you added. Neither are you, Peter flirted back. Who said I was? You backed away from him, looking insulted. Nobody, he said quickly. Dude, relax, I'm just messing with you. You softly hit his chest, gulping a little when you felt how firm it was. Oh, he smiled softly, settling into the couch. And besides, I already knew you thought I was pretty. Don't think I don't see the way you stare at me when I'm in my cat suit, you said pointedly as you turned the TV on. Sorry. I didn't say you had to be sorry. You look over your shoulder and smile at him. He was about to move when he heard the microwave ding. Popcorn's ready. I'll go get it. Do you want a drink or anything? You asked as you got out from the couch. Yeah, thanks. I'll have whatever's in the fridge. You came back soon enough with a bowl of popcorn and some drinks in your hand. Water for yourself and ginger ale for Peter. His eyes widened in shock when you handed him the can. Are you okay? You laughed as you sat back down. This is my favorite drink, he said, looking at you incredulously. Wow, really? I had a feeling you were a ginger ale guy. Peter's shoulders slumped a little in disappointment. He thought you getting his favorite drink without him telling you what he liked was a sign that you were starting to remember him. Instead, it seemed like it was nothing but muscle memory. You know what I just realized? You began. I don't even know your name. It's Peter. He smiled sadly. Peter Parker. You didn't even know his name. You had no idea how much it stung to hear those words. You used to know him better than anyone. Now he has to feel the torture of small talk with someone he used to love. Wow, that's quite a name. You chuckle. Have you ever picked a peck of pickled peppers? I have, actually. He humored you. I bet you did, you said as you put on a movie. When Peter realized what movie you played, he smiled softly. I love this movie, he said without taking his eyes off you. You do? It's my favorite movie. He nodded, wondering if you somehow knew that. Me too. You smiled at him and leaned into his side. The movie played, but you barely watched it. Instead, you two talked over it and caught up on the past few months of your life. Every time you told Peter a story that he either already heard or experienced with you, he had to pretend he was hearing it for the first time. After the fourth story time, he lied to your face after you asked if you had ever told him the story before. He started to feel guilty. Let me propose a hypothetical to you, he said as you rested your feet on his lap. Go for it. Hypothetically, if a single person was wiped from your memory, would you want them to find you again and reintroduce themselves? He asked, trying to sound as casual as possible. It depends, you shrug. Did I wipe them on purpose in an internal sunshine of spotless mind kind of way? Or were they wiped against my will? Against your will. You thought. I don't know. I guess it depends on why they were wiped from my memory. I guess so, Peter agreed. What about you? What would you do? I'm trying to figure that out, he answered honestly as his eyes bored into yours. Is this a school project or something? You wonder when you notice how serious his expression was. Something like that, he lied. What about this? Do you think it would be unethical for the person who was wiped to withhold the fact that they know the person whose memory was wiped? Yeah, I do, you decided. It's unethical not to tell the person who lost their memory that they have history with them. It's deceitful. You really think so? Peter asked hopefully. Yeah, I think not telling them would be the same as lying to them. Lying by omission, and that's just as bad. Peter nodded as his eyes fell to his lap. Peter? Yeah? How hypothetical is this hypothetical? He gulped. It may or may not be based on reality. Based on reality? He swallowed and avoided eye contact. It is reality. Is this really the first time you took your mask off for me? You asked quietly as you studied his face. No, he admitted, still not looking at you. I didn't think so. What happened to us? You whispered. You felt a pain in your chest as you stared at him. From the look on his face, you could tell he was carrying a secret that weighed more than he could bear. I fucked up, he spoke quietly. And it cost me everything I had. The memory of me was wiped from anyone who ever knew me. And I knew you? You asked. I was something you lost? Peter nodded slowly as he replayed his final days with you in his head. His eyes brimmed with tears when he thought back to everything that he could never have again. We were in love. he said after a minute, eyes still on the ground. Really? Love? Yeah, you told me for the first time after I told you that I'd have to be wiped from your memory. He smiled a little at that memory. But you didn't want me to say it back. You wanted me to wait until I found you again. You made me promise. I have a hard time believing I'd say something so corny. You replied, trying to lighten the mood. It wasn't corny at the time, he chuckled. You cried your eyes out when you said I had to leave you. I did too. He got quiet for a minute and turned his head to the side, not wanting you to see his tears. You scooted closer to him on the couch and gently rubbed his arm. It really hurts to be the one who remembers, he said quietly. How long were we together? You asked as you rubbed his knee with your thumb. A little over a year, he told you. But we've been friends since high school. I remember our friendship, you smiled shyly. At least all the moments I had with Spider-Man. And I remember having a little bit of a crush on him. Peter nodded as you spoke, but you could tell he wasn't fully satisfied. You could imagine how many memories you'd forgotten that he was still holding on to. I'm sorry I don't remember you said as you tucked some of his hair behind his ear. It's not your fault. He shook his head. It's mine. I don't see it that way, you said sincerely. I don't know what you did to get yourself wiped from everyone's memory, but I don't think you deserve to be alone. I loved you once. Who's to say I won't fall in love with you again? You think you could? He hoped as he leaned closer to you. I do. You feel like home, Peter. I felt that way as soon as I saw your face. What if we just start over? Wipe the slate clean or whatever. Peter thought about your offer for a moment before holding out his hand. Peter, nice to meet you. You shook his hand before pulling him towards you. You caught his face in your hands and pulled him into a kiss. You both fell backwards onto the couch. Whoa, he said breathlessly as you pulled away. I'm Star, you smiled. It's nice to meet you too. Okay, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.